Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and salutations. I'm Sal. Welcome to 2 Cents Toys and my first panel for IconiCon 2022. And tonight we are talking Not All That Glitters Is Gold, the toy movie tie-ins of the 90s, and why it seems that every single movie had a toy line, for better or worse. Why some of them worked, some of them, most of them, I would argue, make sense, and then a lot of them just really were bad. So I brought in some experts to help me talk through this topic. So let me introduce, for the first time on this channel, Zazel from Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse.
Hello, thanks for having me on. Really excited to be on this one. So thank you.
Absolutely, anytime. Speaking of experts, we also have, is he really an expert? It's not like he owns his own toy company or anything. It's not like he's a professional designer. It's not like he has decades of experience in the toy industry or anything. I don't know if that makes him an expert or not, but, we'll see. Mr. Bobby Valla of Valaverse.
What's up, gang?
Hello.
Now, I know he has some particular feelings about some toy lines, but we'll get into that. And last, but certainly not least, a very dear friend of mine, one of my oldest friends here on YouTube, no stranger to this channel, Mr. Jeff Hicks of the World Class Bullshitters.
Hey everybody, what's up? You caught me playing with my toys, but that's cool. It's IconiCon, so I think I'm in good company. But what's up, guys? It's been a while since we've streamed, Bobby. Many
right?
Hours.
I was like, wait a second. Didn't we just do this morning? The three of us?
You too.
That was yesterday for me.
Oh, that's right. It was yesterday for you.
Yeah, there's a whole new day for me.
You're in the future. That's the crazy part.
That's right. Who wants the lotto numbers?
Well,
I wouldn't drum my
Well,
nose.
I don't think you don't need the lottery. Bobby, you already won big, right? IconiCon.
That's
listen,
right.
I'm not ready to retire yet, but I'll take the lottery number so I can retire.
You got it, buddy. So, yeah, Jeff, what was that action figure you were just holding up there?
This is a 1998 Chip Hazard from Small Soldiers. So that is a movie toy tie-in about a toy and a movie done right compared to Lightyear.
Perfect, right? So would you consider that gold or not gold?
Toy tie-inception.
Yeah, see, exactly. It's weird, Zazel, because I love the Small Soldiers toys, but I don't really like the movie as much as I ever did, honestly. Once I saw the movie, I kind of just stopped being into it. Like, this was all pre-hype for me.
Yeah.
The toys are hard to get, right? Aren't they worth a lot?
Yeah. I held on to all mine, so lucky me.
I'll say. If they come to life, though, you're in trouble. But I think that movie was a great concept, executed not so well, but excellent toy line too. Because how can you lose? How can you lose making a toy based on a movie where the toys come to life? And this was before Toy Story, right?
Right after.
Ahead of its
Was
time.
it after Toy Story? Well, still, either way. Great idea. Anyway, I don't want to hijack your stream. So back to...
Strangely enough, it did have Tim the Tool Guy in Toy Story, and his cohort, whose name escapes me, played the dad in Small Soldiers. So...
Oh, right. Yeah.
Small little connection there. Small Soldiers was a great movie. I have just a quick segue memory on that, because it's topical. It's toy tie-in. It's related.
Yeah.
And let me see really quick about something. But one of my memories regarding that specifically, I can't think of Small Soldiers without thinking about the drink Surge. Now, I don't know if that was existent in Australia for you, Zazel, or not.
Not that I'm familiar with.
Gotcha. But yeah, so Surge was a I guess, Mountain Dew on steroids is the best way to kind of refer to it.
Right.
But it was pretty much only at Burger King, and that was where Small Soldiers had their Happy Meal toy kind of tie-in with Burger King. So I have this very distinct memory of the third grade of getting Nick Nitro in my little Happy Meal and drinking a Surge. It was the first time I'd ever had Surge. It was only around for maybe a year or two, and it was off the market because they were like, it's giving the kids ADHD.
I drank so much Surge back in the 90s, it wasn't even funny. I used to go down to the corner store and buy the 20-ounce bottles, and they used to have a thing, if you opened the lid, you could win a free bottle. I think I won a bottle for like a year straight. I bought one, and I just kept going back and winning. And then my mom bought the cans. Dude, I drank so much of that shit.
So if I add shots of vodka to Mountain Dew, am I going to get close to Surge, or do I need something stronger?
You probably need someone to punch you in the eye. So,
but I don't think that'll be a problem. Yeah.
But yeah. So speaking of, we have our toy tie-ins now. For the most part, now Zazel, never ask a woman her age. I understand, but I know myself and Jeff are the same age, and we were children through the 90s. Bobby, you were coming of age into the 90s. I'm going to assume you're similar to Bobby, Zazel. Close.
In age, I'm not sure how. I was born in 1980.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
You got me by a couple.
Okay. Am I the oldest one? Am I?
You sure are.
Am I old man's days? Let me tell you a thing or two, whippersnappers, about my day and age. What toys were really like. You guys don't know how good you got it.
You guys don't understand. We had to watch a 30-minute animated commercial for our toys.
And we loved it. We ate the cereal while we were watching the cartoon. And
That's right.
if our eyes weren't square by the end of it, then you weren't watching it properly.
That's right.
100%, sir. 100%.
So, but I just wanted to go round robin here, and like when I say the 90s are like what's the toy line, or I guess the movie, or whatever the case may be, that pops up in your mind, like when you saw this was the stream that you were signing up for, like what was it that popped into your head?
Batman.
Well, look, for me, whenever I think of toy tie-ins, one of the positive ones that I have was the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. And then because that was me and my brother loved that line, loved it. We couldn't get enough of the movie. We couldn't get enough of the toys. For that whole school holiday period, it became our playtime. And so the flip side of that was it started making me think of the Waterworld toy line, and how you've got the same main actor from Waterworld as Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, but for some reason it just doesn't hit quite right when you look at those action figures. It doesn't have quite the same feel to it. Doesn't have the same. The way I look at it is the Prince of Thieves stuff brings you back to that movie, whereas the Waterworld toys for me just I look at it and I'm like, it doesn't fill me with joy. Neither did the movie, to be fair.
So it's funny you bring that up. Matt Movie 611, which is a great channel, by the way, says, fun fact, Waterworld was the first time Kevin Costner gave his likeness rights for a toy, which is why the kind of Robin Hood figures don't really look like him in Waterworld does. So
right.
Neat factoid there.
Yep. Okay. Well, I don't know how well they executed that likeness rights then, because they may as well have saved their money and not bothered. I think when you look at the card art for the Prince of Thieves, that's more of a standout than anything. You look at a single card without the figure on it, that's better than an actual carded figure from Waterworld. If that's not being too harsh.
I wonder if he didn't give his rights right away, but did later, because they did two versions of the Prince of Thieves figure. The
Yes.
first version does not look anything like him, and the second version does. It's basically the same Waterworld sculpt. Like that's him. Like that's his likeness. So he definitely gave his rights for that figure. I just don't think it was right away.
Well, this is the one I had, so I don't know. I've seen images of the other one. I wasn't sure which one came first or not, but this is definitely the version of Kevin Costner's Robin Hood that we had as kids.
Yeah, man, those cards are gorgeous.
Aren't they? You can tell it's a Kenner card because this is definitely typical of what they would do with Star Wars too. But I had no idea, because I didn't have a lot of the DC figures, that these were reuses with new head sculpts. The only one that ticked me, that's not the right word. The only one that tipped me off that they were reusing body parts was Friar Tuck with the Gamorrean Guard. And I was like, this is a reuse. You know, when you start stripping them down, which is a weird thing to say you're stripping down Friar Tuck, but underneath all of that, it's basically a Gamorrean Guard. But yeah, I had no idea they were DC characters.
Mm-hmm. So there's our little water world.
Right? It just doesn't feel.
Misses the mark, man.
No, that's just about right. Just zoom in, keep zooming into the black corner.
Yeah, see, that's basically the same head sculpt, and they were both done by Kenner, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just used what they had.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, Kenner, and that's kind of a running theme, really. It seems like the vast majority were Kenner. Now, I guess it's worth mentioning, so keep me honest here, is pretty much by proxy Hasbro at this point, because Hasbro had already acquired. Because Tonka acquired Kenner, and then no?
Nope. Kenner was still Kenner at that time.
Gotcha.
Kenner was not acquired by Tonka and Hasbro until after Power of the Force had come out. So this is early 90s, whereas it wasn't until 98, I believe, that Kenner was acquired.
Okay. That was going to be one of my questions, and we'll revisit it on another panel tomorrow, or possibly Sunday. I believe it's tomorrow. It was going to be how autonomous Kenner was from Hasbro even after they were acquired. So, because it seems like a lot of it now is just in name only, unfortunately. So, Retroblastin says, Bobby, keep representing Prince of Thieves for us. We're doing that feature after IconiCon.
Yes, I've been waiting forever. Michael, I'm going to need to talk to you about the idea I have for that secret series 2 that never came out.
Oh yeah, some of those figures, they look pretty good. What was it, King Richard?
King Richard, another Azim.
Right.
More Robin Hoods. Yeah, the King Richard looked really good. They had a more accurate or they had the Celts. They had a bunch of good figures. That series would have been amazing.
Agreed. So my I guess to kind of kick us off here, my question about, or something for us to ponder, is what made the toy line bad? Is it a bad, or I guess what, chicken or the egg kind of situation? Was it a bad movie or a bad toy line, or was it a good toy line that kind of made the movie a little bit better? Because in my brain, toys, at least for a child, are what allow the story to continue after the movie's over. Yeah. So you play with your toys later and you make up your own stories and all that. So it's, if you have these toys of characters, I'll go ahead and start my camera. There we go. So it's like you have these toys of these characters here, and it's like, if the movie sucked really bad, then why would you want to play with them? Even if the toys are great, why would you play with them? Like, if you can't separate the movie from the toy, or maybe you want to watch the movie again because you play with the toys so much. So
yeah. So the female character in the background, I can't remember the name of. Yeah. She looks like every female Kenner character that they've ever made. Like, just the way that she, it looks like Jurassic Park. It looks like Aliens. It's got that same sort of elbow bend. It is, yeah. I think
Looks
If you've
nothing
got
like
that
her green character at all. Not even
Well,
close
I
to
can't
her real
remember.
character.
I can't remember any of the names from Congo.
It's Karen, Peter Elliott, Gahimbe or something like that, and Monroe, who is actually Ernie Hudson. So I'm curious.
No.
hmm So he actually, believe it or not, looks the most accurate to his screen portrayal, minus the bandolier and the giant knives and all that. So I'm curious if they just used this like the Ghostbusters head for him or not. But because it was Kenner, but this is Ernie Hudson.
I feel like that line was definitely missing a Tim Curry figure.
100% it was.
And
Yeah,
the guy,
yeah.
and I don't remember his name, but the guy that was like, "Stop eating my sesame cake."
That line gets quoted back to me by my kids. My kids are in their 20s now. They will always quote. See, I've got a love-hate relationship with Congo because my kids loved the movie. We never had any of the action figures or toys from it, but I was aware of them. But they weren't really into action figures. They weren't really into toys. They were more computer game guys. But they loved this movie, and they would want to watch this movie all the time. And when it came up to that line, unanimously, we'd all go, "Stop eating my sesame cake." But if that's the only thing that we can take away from Congo, then that's at least a good memory I've got of it. But I think other than Tim Curry, they also missed an opportunity to make a Bruce Campbell action figure for Congo.
Oh, that's right. Bruce Campbell was in it
his
for like
first.
5 seconds, and then he was dead. Bruce Campbell.
Lucky,
Yeah.
lucky for Bruce Campbell.
Like,
that front one looks like something you'd get out of the Tarzan line. I can't remember the name of the talking Amy, isn't it?
Amy, yeah.
You're right,
Amy,
yeah.
Good gorilla. See, I
Want green drop
So-
drink?
have green drop drink martini, so I have to be fully honest and transparent with everybody. I was telling Zazel this before everyone else showed up. The only reason I know any of this is because I just watched Congo like an hour ago.
Right.
Like I've seen it before, but if you'd asked me any of these questions prior to an hour ago, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, and nor do I care.
Well, I haven't seen it since the early 2000s when my kids were young enough to enjoy watching it, but I still hear the quotes up until this day with the sesame cake line.
I feel like though, Zazel, I feel like you've probably seen it enough that no one else here ever has to watch it again.
I've seen it enough for everybody. I've done you all a solid. You don't have to
Thank
watch
you.
it. I've watched it enough for everyone.
That's right.
I think Congo is on par with Anaconda. It has a charm to it, and I feel like you can watch it and be incredibly entertained. But at the same time, it's not one of those movies where you're just like, yeah, I really want to watch that. But when it's on, you're like, oh, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
Was it in theaters?
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw Congo in the theater. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I took like my middle
was a big
school
deal.
girlfriend to go see Congo.
Well, how'd that go?
So the
Missed some of it.
right.
Probably for the best.
Something I did know prior to this, and I was telling Zazel again before we started, that Congo is based off of a book, like most things are, written by Michael Crichton, who also wrote Jurassic Park, which also got turned into a movie, which Kenner also made toys of. So, and some of these people may or may not have been repurposed for Kenner the Lost World. Like Peter here was almost 1-for-1 remade into a different figure for Lost World. So
I'm telling you, that female character is very reminiscent of the.
Oh, yeah.
What
That's
was
probably-
her name in
that's
Jurassic
probably
Park?
Ripley and Laura Dern's character just mashed into one
Laura-
figure.
Yeah. Laura Dern for sure.
Ellie Sattler.
Got to save the money.
Yeah, pretty much.
Listen, Michael and I have talked about just doing a show based on Kenner reuse. You can do
Okay.
an entire show based on that. They used,
To show the
They-
silhouette of a character.
yeah, they reuse so
I
many
guess.
parts from line to line to line. It's amazing.
So super chat from Andrew Sabina. Thank you, sir. Says he came in
Andrew.
late, which you're not super late. We only started about 20 minutes ago. He asked if anyone brought up Stargate yet. No,
Sure
we
hope
haven't
not.
brought it up yet, but it's coming. So,
Yep.
Well,
Zazel, would you like to speak on Stargate since I have a photo from you?
Yeah, so I mean, Stargate was I enjoyed Stargate. as a movie. I think I enjoyed the movie more than the series. I know a lot of people enjoy the series more than the movie. But there was a reuse for the Ore Striker that they made for the line. And I believe they made it a single-seater Ore Striker for the use in Stargate, the movie. Yeah. That looks a bit like Flint, doesn't it?
A little bit,
They
yeah.
just ripped that Awe Striker off. They weren't even trying to hide anything.
The
No.
Hasbro
Like,
made
that
it.
looks good. We'll just take that.
So, and just wait till we bring up the next one, which is right here. And it's like the box, right? You're like, oh, okay. And then you see the actual toy, and you're like, oh no, that's the Awe Striker. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, big fat seat in the middle.
just made it a one-seater. Because
So I wonder how many Joe collectors use that now. I wonder how many figures you can fit there with a big wide seat. Probably fit 3 in there now.
Oh, if you'd asked me before the stream, I'd probably say none. But now, after the stream, probably all of them are clamoring for it. Now they're going to be like $80 a piece. So that's just how it always goes with us. So if anyone wants one, go get it now before the stream's over, before eBay catches wind. So, but no. So Stargate, I remember. So I was in kindergarten when Stargate came out. And they always did the Valentine's thing. You had to get little Valentines and you give them out to your classmates and all that.
Right.
There was a kid in my class who got Stargate Valentines.
Huh.
I don't know, haven't seen the movie now. I didn't see it when I was younger, but having seen it, I'm not sure what about that movie screamed Valentine's Day to people, but I got one and it was of Anubis, and I thought it was so cool. I didn't know anything about it. He just looked really cool to me, and I'm still curious. What about Anubis was like? Yeah, let's put him on a Valentine's Day card. Let's do that. So,
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to get anything for Valentine's Day, action figure is not a bad thing to get, right? I'd rather that over a flower or chocolates.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Even a bad toy's better than any flower. Sorry,
true.
ladies. Sorry, ladies.
That's right. So, James Halsberg, thank you, sir. He says, Kenner reuse a 10-part maxi series.
At least.
Is 10 parts enough? It'll be rushing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh boy, but yeah. So, Jeff, what is the when you think of a 90s toy or movie tie-in, what one comes to mind?
Well, the one that comes to mind first is the one I had the most of, which would be Batman, like specifically the Kenner movie Batman figures, because
Yeah.
that was what Batman was to me at the time. Even though I liked the cartoon and stuff, I was all about the live action stuff. But 90s toys from movies were like, I had a ton of them. Like, I was looking through this list. Like, I had Luigi from the Super Mario Brothers movie. I had Robin Hood. I had, what's his face? Captain Hook. All of these. But I always thought of, like, the movie toys as, like, weird things that I wasn't aware of the movie. So I'd basically go to the store. I'd see these toys based off of, like, people or whatever. And then they'd be gone really quickly because, they're only out for the summer or the event. And so thinking back to a lot of these ones that, like, you guys were talking about and building up, I just remember the Robin Hood toys, getting them at a Woolworths and then, like, never going to Woolworths again in my life. And so they were almost like toys I would get after I had enough of other toys that I wanted. It's like, oh, you have Batman, you have Spider-Man. Oh, I want something else. How about, random guy from a movie? That's how I ended up with, Luigi or random Jurassic Park people. And
Right.
I guess back then it wasn't about the human characters, it was about the creatures or the gimmicks or the other stuff. And so that's kind of how I look at movie toys, kind of like how some people look at movie video games, where they're like, some were awesome, some were bad, but it's a toy and I'm happy at the end of the day.
It's actually it's an interesting point because I used to just pick up action figures to supplement other toy lines that I was into. So, for instance, with Ninja Turtles, I would pick up some of the Disney characters from what was that Baloo show with the
Tailspin?
Tailspin. I'd pick up a couple of those characters because they look, some of them could be. I remember there was a character that was like a wild boar or a pig or something, and had like a captain's hat on. I was like, that guy would fit really well next to Ace Duck and all the other Ninja Turtles that I had. So I'd have a bunch of Disney characters in with Ninja Turtles, and that also can go with the what was it called, Toxic Crusaders. That was what an interesting toy line to give to kids. If you know the movie, you know how inappropriate that is.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the same goes for the Robin Hood toys. After we stopped playing Robin Hood and we were into X-Men and the mutants and so forth, we would carry over some of those characters. Like Azim lasted longer than any other of the characters that we had, and he ended up becoming a mutant in the X-Men games playtime that we had. So we didn't have a problem with mixing and matching toy lines.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think I've told the story before. It just reminded me. But speaking of Azim and Robin Hood, I saw parts of that movie, and I say parts because I'm referencing a very specific scene when I was younger, and I haven't seen the movie since. I was 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 in that age bracket. And I saw the scene where he gives a cesarean to, I think, Little John's wife, I think it is. And I didn't know what was happening. I didn't get it, at that age. I was terrified that I would wake up and some man with an Alibaba sword was going to be cutting me open in my sleep.
Oh,
I was petrified.
All right.
So
yeah.
I thought,
concern.
That was a life-saving scene, and you were petrified for other reasons that you thought it was. What did you think was happening? Like she was being tortured?
I just thought he was cutting her open and people were letting it happen.
Yeah.
Which Jeff and I both know an Alibaba sword is for hacking into a camel hump so you can drink the milk right out of it.
Exactly, Charlie.
That's accurate. Yeah.
So Jeremy J sends in a super chat. He says, that dragon looks great. What line is that from? I don't know. It's some toy line like Dragon Fart or something. I don't know. No, it's from Dragonheart, and Jeremy and I both have fond memories of that line. And Dragonheart, it's not the figures, it's the accessories and the dragons, much like Jurassic Park and Congo. It's not the people, like Jeff said, it's the creatures that sell these lines. It's 100% the creatures. Matt Movies says, just because, since Super Chat, thank you, sir. So just because, Sal, you're one of the funniest people I've ever met. I appreciate that, sir, but that is, I can't take full credit. That's the power of crippling depression. So I feel wildly underprepared, but there's one toy line I kind of want to talk about, and where even the creatures couldn't save it, and the humans were just as bad. Independence Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I forgot this had a toy line until right this moment, and then I realized in the 90s somebody asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I asked for those toys, and I never got them, so I think I dodged a bullet.
Oh, you dodged the big bullet.
Yeah. I remember the mechanical one, the battery operated one that would open itself up and you'd see the creature in there. There were boxes and boxes and boxes of that alien down the aisles, and every time you walked past, I think it was motion censored, and it would just open up and make this god awful noise. If it wasn't motion censored, then it must have been my little brother being a punk and pressing every button along the way. But I do remember just hating on that noise.
I unfortunately ended up with a few of those. Well-intentioned.
Was it motion censored?
No.
Battery operated. I blame my brother then.
Mine was manual operated. They were just like the regular carded versions. I ended up with a handful of those aliens. And when I tell you they were utter shit, they were some of the worst toys I ever held and tried to play with. Because they couldn't stand up on their own. It was like trying to play with MODOK. Like it was just a giant head with limbs. You couldn't play with them at all. Their tentacles, which were bendy wire, fell out of the back constantly. And if you opened them up and pulled the little alien out of its head, there was like no way you were getting it back in there. Like I never could get it to go, because you'd pull it out, then it'd be wrapped in saran wrap. It was wrapped in something, and it was kind of holding it in place. And once you took that off, because a little alien in it was bendy wire, you couldn't get it back into that like confined space anymore. So your alien was permanently split open with the little thing sticking out of it. The worst toys of all time. On top of that, they came with a floppy disk because that's what kids want.
Wow.
They all had a floppy disk.
A floppy disk.
I didn't know what it was because we didn't have a computer growing up. So I was like, they ended up being coasters because I didn't know what they were. But maybe someone
What was on them?
Maybe someone in the chat can tell me what was on them. I have no idea. But they were the worst toys of all time.
You know what this is reminding me of was a terrible toy line too, just to piggyback off, was Men in Black. Because Will Smith. You couldn't get basic Men in Black figures. They didn't make two agents in the black suits. They had... That's what I hated about movie toys too. They had fucking pointless costumes that weren't in the movie or action features that didn't work. Like, you couldn't get them.
That's what bothered me about Batman, though. Is that I always just wanted a regular Batman, and all I could see is a gold suit Batman or a scuba Batman. And it's like I get that he's Batman, but I just want a Batman, just a regular Batman.
It wasn't until like I think the third wave that the Kenner Dark Knight series put out an actual black Batman. It's like
madness.
He's got a black costume in the movie. What are you doing? Should have been the first figure you put out.
Yeah, Johnny Sorensen says viruses. That's what was on the floppy disks. Sorry, I thought that was really funny. But so Men in Black was another property that had a Happy Meal tie-in with Burger King. Yes,
there you go. Hey, that's what you need.
This is Crime Attack Batman. But yeah, this is the first one, and then they didn't do anything else. The rest of them are just multicolored. That's what I grew up with. I love these toys.
However, Deep Dive Batman in the yellow suit was probably one of my all-time favorite figures.
I had it.
So I wasn't even that mad about it.
Agreed. It was always like, so Batman, that's something else to talk about with the toy tie-ins is how, Jeff brought it up. They always did like variant costumes that never appeared in the movie. But it seems like growing up, at least for me, it was very rare that I had like the main character in their normal costume. It was always a variant of some kind. It was like I had like probably 20 different Batmen, and I think I had one in his normal costume. I think I had one. My favorite one was the Bruce Wayne with the that kind of rubber overlay with a cape and all that.
Yeah, that was
a
cool.
great toy.
That was cool.
It's my favorite one.
It looked just like Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
But all I had was the Michael Keaton. Like if I stared at accessories for too long, they disappeared. Like they were gone.
Yeah.
So it was like, this is my Batman who's just Bruce Wayne. So
I was lucky. I would have like Bruce Wayne, and then I would have Batman, and like I'm like, Mom, put him in your purse. So if we went somewhere and I wanted to play with him, I would do that. But I was like oddly specific to a fault almost, to where it's like, if I went to the store and say I liked a movie, if it didn't look close enough, I just completely forgot it had a toy line. Like I brought up Men in Black, Independence Day, like that was always like important to me, and that's why I've gone back. If the like Inspector Gadget, even though it's not a movie toy tie-in, they would make like purple and blue and yellow Inspector Gadgets because you wanted to do different gadget features, and I was just like, yo, put it all in one, like they did the 80s figure. It was much cooler. But I'm glad they
does a yellow Inspector Gadget look like Dick Tracy?
Yeah. Oh, that's another movie tie-in. I had to go to the hospital when I was a kid. I accidentally ingested one of the toys, and my mom, or the guns, and she freaked out. And she's like, "Oh, we have to take you to the hospital right now." So that's one of my earliest memories of going to the hospital over Dick Tracy.
Don't worry, Mom. We'll come out in 2 days.
That's what they told her.
Jeff choked on Dick Tracy. Yikes. We were saying earlier that Dick Tracy as a toy line looks better carded than it does as a loose set. There's something about that card that really makes it pop. I think maybe cards can save
don't
it
they also
sometimes.
have trouble standing up too?
Yeah, they're a Playmates toy. I mean, every Playmates toy had trouble standing at that time.
Mm-hmm.
What's the design purpose behind that? Is it just a lazy move, or
I think so. Like, if you watch the Toys That Made Us, the Mark Taylor, the guy who did the original He-Man figures, he left Mattel and went to Playmates, and he designed the early Ninja Turtles figures. And in there, he kind of talks about, I wanted like Shredder to have this mystical stance. And I think he was trying to be, I don't think he was thinking of the toy. I think he was thinking of the gesture, and it didn't translate well. And the sculptors didn't have enough sense to be like, hey man, that's not going to work. You know, like Raphael, like on his back toe isn't really going to work. And they kind of did it. And I don't know why. Like that's the kind of stuff you can catch really early. But they did it, and it kind of did not go well. But if you notice,
they're iconic poses now when you think back on them.
They are. But you see that over the longevity of the Turtles line, they change the feet very drastically from the first couple series, and the Dick Tracy's came out in that that early era. So then they missed the boat on when it switched to everyone having flat feet after that.
Gotcha. So, quickly, Clay3613 says that his KB Toys had Dick Tracy figures on the pegs until it closed.
Wow.
I don't doubt it. I think the majority of my Dick Tracy carded figures, I think I have every one except the blank, they all have a KB sticker with the crossed out red and like some other like $1.99 written on it.
That's part of the charm,
like
though, right?
Yep.
KB Toys, $7.99, crossed out, 3 for $5.
I love when I see people selling like a toy for like over $100 that has like a $2.99 KB sticker on it, and I'm like, man, what happened?
Yeah,
inflation.
So
inflation's real.
Well, part of the charm on a lot of these cards are having the old price stickers on it. You used to try and peel them off carefully, and now it's part of the history of it.
yeah.
I love having a price tag on my card and stuff.
I have a pile of Dragonheart toys down here, as you can see.
Burn it!
Every single one of them, 3 for $5. Every single one.
You paid too much.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I got them on an eBay listing. Actually, they were $5 a piece, so not too bad. But there was a toy line that I wanted to bring up because we'll segue into a specific question here, and this one's for Jeff. So, talking about toy lines that were awful, and so was the movie. Warriors of Virtue.
Oh, God. You know, I hate
Yikes.
this movie. I hate these toys. Sal and I have talked about this for years now at this point. My cousin had these, and he had the movie on tape. What the hell? It was just kind of... That's my response. Just what the hell were they thinking back then? Like, bad design, bad movie, bad everything. Ugh.
As an Australian, it saddens me to see kangaroos in this form.
Yeah. I barely... So what I remember most about the movie was how badly I wanted to see it. And then when I saw it, trying to convince myself that I liked it.
Right.
Because I would want to watch it. My brother would tell me, he's like, you don't even like that movie. I'm like, yes, I do. I love this movie. And I would watch it. It's so bad. But I refuse
tell
to
me what I
not
like.
it.
It's an acquired taste.
It's... You know, but
And that taste is vomit.
But no, like so the movie's bad. It's just bad. Like if they had called it like Never Ending Story Part 5 or something, I kind of would have that. But the toys are even worse because they have a weird kind of like ball construction on the hips and legs, but they have these like hard rubber skirts so you can't even use the legs, and it's just it's so bad. It's so bad. So, I don't know. It's just really bad.
What was the name of the movie again?
Warriors of Virtue.
Or is it Virtue? Okay, I know. I'm not going. I've seen it once. I'll never put myself through that again.
No,
Yeah.
Don't.
Thank you, Timothy Ward, for getting rid of the bots. I've never had bots pop up in my chat before, so thank you for catching.
Well, you know you've made it now.
That's right.
It's my fault. Sorry.
That's right. They know Jeff's here, and they're like, "Oh,
Speaking of sex bots, hi, Mom.
Oh, so, but that leads us to a topic of like I touched on it a little bit about a toy that was better than the movie and vice versa. What's another toy tie-in that was the figures were just as bad as the movie for you guys?
Um, it's really tough because like Congo should be one that I hate the movie and the toys. And while I don't like the toys, I do still have a fond memory of the movie, so I can't just take that out of the equation entirely. I mean, it got to be Waterworld. Waterworld, the toys and the movie both fall flat.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers was really bad.
Yeah, I think I liked Mario Brothers at the time, though.
Zazel, have you when was the last time you watched Waterworld?
It was one of my mum was a super big Kevin Costner fan, so we would watch The Postman, we would watch Waterworld, we would watch.
Postman's actually good.
I'm not saying The Postman's bad. I'm just saying that there would be a marathon of Kevin Costner, Dances with Wolves, all of these movies. Mum would have on constant, rotation, and I think the one that I saw the most and disliked the most was Waterworld. I have a feeling Bobby's going to say it's not as bad as you think it is. It's
so the only reason I'm asking is that I thought that movie sucked for years.
Yeah,
I watched it maybe about a year ago, and not only did I watch it, I subjected my wife to watching it, and my wife hates everything that I like. And she was kind of entertained, and I'm like, okay, well, this is a bad sign.
you're right.
And I'm watching it, and I'm like, you know what? I think this movie was just a little ahead of its time. I think there are definitely some aspects that are terrible, like absolutely terrible. Dennis Hopper's makeup, the worst I've ever seen in a big budget movie. But like I think that the movie now with a few tweaks, I think could be good. I really do. I think
I know they used to have a show that they would play like a
stunt show.
Yeah.
They still do. I went a couple weeks ago.
Oh, cool. How is it?
Good. I can't talk shit about it. It's fun. Like, I don't like Waterworld, but for some reason we own it on 4K. Like, Jessie bought it just for the hell of it. She's like, I heard it's not as bad as people say, so she just jumped in and bought the movie, so we own it. But the show's awesome. Like, you go, they spray you with water, they come out on a boat, there's fire, jet skis, and then they even, like, shoot a plane over the roof of the stage, and then it crash lands and explodes. So it's like high octane. You can't really shit on it because it's entertaining. I give it 2 thumbs up. It's fun.
I'll go go back and check it out with fresher eyes. There's actually a scene in there that one of my sons sent me and said, "This reminds me of you." And it's when there's that moment where Dennis Hopper's been, his face is all mangled, and he's said something. And then they'll go back. You said you wouldn't kill me. And he's like, did I say that? I may have. My kid's like, that's like when we asked you if we were going to go do something and you didn't remember we were going to do it. And you'd be like, oh, did I say we were going to go do that? Yeah, all right. I may have said that. Yeah.
So I'm actually with Bobby on this one. It's not as bad as people say it is, because I have a fun story for you. At one point, I fancied myself, a screenwriter. Like I was going to make movies and all that, and I had this great idea. It was like because I'd seen Waterworld once eons ago, and I was in college, so many years removed from the one time I'd seen it. I've seen it again since then, but I came up with this idea, had all my characters named and the whole premise and the story from point A to point B, and I had it all situated, had my first draft and all that, and I handed it to a friend of mine to read it, see what he thought about it as a blind read. And he was reading it and reading it and reading it. And So it takes place, the polar ice caps have melted. People are living in these like structures that they've had to build out of like metal and all that, and living off oil rigs and things like that. And he's just reading it, and he's like, "You really like Waterworld, don't you?" I'm like, "Nah, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "This is Waterworld, dude." And so I went and watched it, and I was like, "Son of a bitch!" It was Waterworld like to the letter.
Right.
I was so upset with myself.
It almost sounds like you wrote Scorcher from Tropic Thunder.
Pretty
That's
much.
the exact premise of that movie too. Remember the Ben Stiller parody?
Mm-hmm. Pretty
Well,
much.
I wanted to
Don't
like
let the
Waterworld.
freezer open.
I think one of the big things that makes Waterworld like unlikable is Kevin Costner. And it's not that his acting's better or anything like that. We're used to seeing Kevin Costner's as charming Kevin Costner in
Right.
Prince of Thieves, charming, Tin Cup, charming, Field of Dreams, charming. Like he's this very likable character. Then out of the gates, you're like, ooh, another Kevin Costner movie. Okay, I can get behind this. And then you see the movie and he's an asshole. And you're like, wait a minute. He doesn't even have like a big face turn at the end. That one was for you, Jeff. He stays an asshole kind of till like the last 2 minutes of the movie. And you're like, all right, dude.
It's not even a charming asshole either.
Late. Yeah, a little too late. You got this sassy girl telling him he's an asshole, and he's like, are you the hero? Are you the villain? What's going on here? You're just trying to find land. You're using a girl just to find land so you could tell everybody that you're right about land. So I think if there was a different actor playing his part, the Mariner,
right?
I think we all would have had a slightly different feeling about Waterworld. Just slightly.
Mel Gibson. Throw Mel Gibson in there.
You know what? Mel Gibson would have been a great asshole in that movie.
At least, he'd be at least consistent. But I think with the reason why I think I wanted to like it is because I was told this is Mad Max on water, right? And as an Aussie, we love Mad Max. We love the Road Warrior, and then I guess maybe I set myself up to fail. But I'll definitely go back and revisit it now and see how I feel about it now with new eyes, new adult eyes.
I mean, I'm not saying like, hey, you're gonna watch it, you're gonna love it. I'm just saying you might have a slightly different feeling. Mine wasn't like an intense different feeling, but there were still points that I was like, you know what? I might be able to get behind this movie just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of assholes, not Impossible Pie, you're not an asshole. I'm talking about what he says Last Action Hero, and that movie is an asshole. So I don't know.
Toys.
I had several of one of them. So I had a few of them. I ended up with pretty much the whole wave, which if you can get that gold Cadillac, that's a great car. That is a great, great toy. But I don't know if how well the three of you remember that movie.
I watched it the other day.
Fairly well.
I remember I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it in the cinema, I liked it enough. I liked the idea of it, the premise of it.
Right.
I believe it had an AC/DC song attached to it.
Mm-hmm. So what you may or may not remember is that it kind of intermittent in the movie were like trailers or fake trailers for the fake movies that he was in. And one of them was Macbeth. Right. So when they made the toys, they made toy versions of those trailer characters. I ended up with three Macbeth figures. Just Christmas, birthday, Christmas, just bang, bang, bang.
Oh, no.
I ended up with three of the same figure. They were shit toys. They were like 5 POA, like horrible toys. Horrible. And
I don't mind 5 POA so long as they're not in poses that they can't stand.
Right. I don't mind 5 POA if they're small. Once you get in that like 5-inch range and they're 5 POA, I'm like, you could put articulation in there.
Right.
But for me, was the guy's name Ripper, the bad guy in that? I think his name was Ripper. He was permanently like, his hands were molded to hold an axe, and if he wasn't holding the axe, it just looked like he was jacking off. So they were not great toys, and I had 3 of the Macbeth figures. They were so dumb. But anyway, Michael Hinkson.
I'm just
since
sorry you had
chat-
such a bad birthday.
no,
Yeah, sorry about that, man. Yeah.
that's my whole life. My whole life, just bad birthdays. But thank you, Michael Hinkson. He says, hello from Reno. The Star Trek toys irritated me. Generations came out with toys in 5-inch scale, and you could play with your next gen toys with them. And then First Contacts came out in 7-inch scale.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
So, yeah, that's no bueno. That is no bueno. So, let me block these users. Sorry, meant to mute there. Oh, it jumped on me. All right. World Made of Cardboard. Thanks, sir. He says, so, Bobby, when do we get Action Force Waterworld?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to kill the line just yet.
Mm.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Well, I mean, nothing. You could probably do Waterworld. They're not going to space.
This is true.
So,
I'd do a Prince of Thieves line before I did a Waterworld line.
mm,
There's a lot of other lines. I think I said it at the panel at Joe Fest. I would do a Dick Tracy line in a heartbeat.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for Dick Tracy to become public domain. It's almost there.
Yeah, it's got to be getting close.
Almost there.
Almost.
Yeah.
What was it? 100 years, and it becomes public domain
I
automatic.
thought it was 80 something,
Okay.
and that came out in what, the 30s. So
Possibly.
unless that came out in the 20s and it is 100 years. All I know is it's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming up.
So, quick anecdote. I thought the man in the yellow hat and Dick Tracy were the same person when I was a kid. So there's that. Jim Largo sends in a super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, we definitely need a Shadow movie remake and a new updated toy line. Bobby, can you use your Steel Brigade Productions Hollywood clout to make that happen?
Listen, I would love to do the Shadow again. I like that noir stuff, man. So my goal, I was looking into it, but I think, like, I'm trying to remember who owns Dick Tracy right now, or the movie rights, or Shadow or something like that. But I always felt like a really good crossover, because they kind of take place in similar times, is a Dick Tracy Shadow crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you had the Shadow kind of being like the Batman pulling some stuff, and Dick Tracy's like the Commissioner Gordon kind of being like, yo, what's the deal with this dude? Let me find out what's going on here. I feel like that's like a no-brainer crossover. Like, why has it never happened? So I kind of just gave away like one of my secret things that I want to do, but hey, someone should do it. I would love to do it, but someone should do it. But I think I'm going to look up tonight when the two of them become public domain. Because the Shadow, I think, was in the 40s.
Yeah.
All right, so Dick Tracy debuted in 31.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so a little bit more time.
Well, it says here that the first serial Dick Tracy is now in the public domain. So I guess it all depends on which iteration you want to use.
Yeah, so I wonder if the first serial, which characters it had, but, and then also, like, I wonder about public domain is it frees up the characters, but does it, like, if I do Dick Tracy, like say I did Dick Tracy, can I put him in the yellow hat and the yellow trench coat, or does public domain free up copyright at that point? Which I think it does, which is why Disney's fighting so hard about Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So I think public domain does free it up, so you'd probably be able to use the yellow hat and the yellow trench coat, or you modernize Dick Tracy, which I don't think anybody wants that. But noir stuff is always a tough sell, period pieces. But I think there's enough Dick Tracy fans out there that if you did like a really cool Dick Tracy line, it would work. And I think you could do it cheaply because they're all wearing suits, and all the suits back then all kind of look the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you do the bad guys with the flashy suits, and then you do, like the cops with the regular suits. I think you could probably get away with some good reuse, and then you have the funds to be able to do soft goods. So I have a plan.
So Andrew Sabina says, it's the same reason why we never got a Zorro Lone Ranger crossover. God has abandoned us. That's exactly it. Speaking of toy decisions, there's something I wanted to bring up, which was like a trope. I don't know if they still do it with toys today, but they 100% did it all the fucking time when I was a kid. was including things in the toy line that were never in the movie or never happened. And the big one I remember seeing, or the one that like, because it happened a lot. Like this didn't happen in the movie, but the one that I caught like first was for Phantom Menace, which is in the 90s, so it counts. I was at a Rite Aid and I saw the gopher fish from the Phantom Menace, and it was a cool toy, no giant fish thing, but it came with a Qui-Gon Jinn who had like a trident and like a scuba tank or something like that. And I remember looking at that, and I was like, that never happened in the movie. So,
I
wonder
if
if
some of
that
that
Scuba Steve figure.
what was that, Jeff?
Sure, it wasn't a Scuba Steve figure.
Yeah, Scuba Steve. That's right. What'd you say, Bobby?
I said toyetic. You got to remember that there weren't. Yes, okay. So you could say they were kind of collectors, but you got to remember, like, this is a toy company. They're selling toys to kids, so that you have to make that stuff. You have to put those kind of things in there. It's like at Hasbro when the first Avengers movie came out. Like, yeah, they had movie figures in the 4-inch line, but they had like these ridiculous accessories that obviously weren't in the movie. But you got to make those things for kids lines. So it's like, well, I get it. You got to remember, they're toys for kids. You know,
I would take that over that Jar Jar Binks lollipop thing, where the mouth opens and it's the tongue. Oh God, what were they thinking? I think some of that must be concept art as well, right? Like they don't know everything that's going to happen in the movie.
Yeah,
they probably just get, all right, they're underwater. There's going to be a fish. Make a toy.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of like every Marvel movie I ever worked on, I only went off concept art, just rendered drawings. And yeah, I don't ever remember doing a line where I had actors in costumes. You know, maybe Guardians 2, maybe. But when I worked on Amazing Spider-Man 2, Sony was like, no, you can't have anything. The last 2 Avengers movies, nope, can't have anything. So it's just like, all right, thanks. Guess you don't want accurate stuff.
Gotta love it. So Michael Hinkson, thank you, sir, sends in a super chat. He says, Bobby, are we getting a Sergeant Slaughter or an Action Force IconiCon figure next year? Probably
I like the idea of an IconiCon exclusive figure. Maybe I'll talk to the group and see what we can do.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
I'll buy it.
Maybe
I'll buy it. I'll buy some IconiCon colors.
That's right. So things to think about for next year. So conversely, since we were on the topic of toys and all that, and well, that's kind of an obvious statement there, Sal, to say we're on the topic of toys. Sorry. Thinking about toys that were better than the movie counterpart. Like any movie that was just really dog shit, but the toy really kind of saved it. If there's anything that comes to mind.
Well, I guess the dragons are the saving grace for the Dragonheart movie, right? I mean, even if the human characters aren't that great, you can't go wrong with the dragon.
That's true. Fair. That's true. I think there are more instances where the movie is better than the toy line sucks. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I know you were just giving some grief to Last Action Hero. I'm gonna say the opposite. I'm gonna say that was a dog shit movie, but I got behind those figures because one, we got like a good henchman in the Benedict character, a bad guy in a white suit, awesome henchman. But then we also got a straight up Arnold figure, which, yeah, the Terminator figures kinda, but there wasn't like a pure Arnold figure. You had the battle damaged one, you had the one with the sunglasses where his chest opened up. Yeah. You never had real Arnold. So there was a Last Action Hero figure where he's got a ripped t-shirt, like he doesn't have the jacket on, it's just a red t-shirt, and he's got a rip in it. That figure's a great figure, and I remember like I had that Arnold like in with my other toys, like being Arnold Schwarzenegger playing with like my Batman figures and stuff. Yeah. And then with the car, like I think that line far surpassed the movie. You know, yeah, the cheesy stuff like the Macbeth one was a little out there, you know, in the jerking off Ripper. But I feel like there were some diamonds in that rough in that line.
That gold Cadillac. You pull the tailpipe and it had that extra wheel that popped up so you go on 2 tires and make a turn.
Yeah.
Or you press it was like you somewhere in the backseat it would pop the trunk open and you could like drop dynamite and stuff out of it. Like the car was great. I would love to get that car and see if it scales well with 112 or not, because they were pretty much there in scale. They weren't that far off.
I think it'll be tight.
Yeah.
I think it'll be tight.
So,
Do they scale with the Terminator figures? Terminator 2?
They do.
Oh, that's so good. That's perfect to have an Arnold then, if you're going to do it that way.
Because like if I remember correctly, that was Mattel, and Mattel was guilty of their own reuse, because we had Demolition Man and Last Action Hero all using the same bodies.
Yeah.
And then Demolition Man also used some 90s He-Man bodies also. So you had like the Demolition Man using 2 separate toy lines in one.
speaking of Terminator,
yeah.
there's that one. That's my childhood Terminator. There was a great 3 POA episode. Speaking about rated R toys,
Yeah, remember that one.
Terminator, Alien, Predator, a bunch of toys that. Well, Alien and Predator is a bit more of a stretch. That's more comic book based, but there was RoboCop.
Yeah.
Those lines were pretty on par. Like great for different reasons, but pretty well great. But the reason I pull this photo up is to show. You might see behind that Terminator a Space Jam figure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Monster.
He's hidden back there.
Yeah, talk about a dog shit toy line.
My uncle collected that toy line. Like he was in his 40s when that movie was coming out, but they had every Space Jam toy, and they like displayed it in their living room. And my aunt and uncle have since passed away, but they had redid their living room and they brought out the Space Jam shit again. So in their collector's area, it's just Michael Jordan action figures, and they were weird too, man. They had like him playing baseball, him playing golf, him doing this. Like it was a weird.
They were into it.
Yeah, hardcore.
Who's
man.
the guy in green in the front there with the white hair?
That is, I think it's Lieutenant Stone from G.I. Joe Extreme.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not too familiar with the extreme stuff, but that guy looks pretty cool.
I
I
think
had
he
that
is.
toy.
So, but yeah, that's I had the Michael Jordan from that line, from the Space Jam line, and I got him for Christmas. It's either I got him or my older brother got him, and then immediately gave him to me. That figure sucked so hard. I was so excited because Michael Jordan was like he was like the Bo Jackson of our generation, Jeff.
Yeah.
And he was everywhere, but it's like you got him and he was like perma-posed to basically do like a free throw. Like it was like,
Yeah.
what were you supposed to do with him? The answer
That was so disappointing with all toys that came pre-posed. Like even Power of the Force 2, you had Han Solo with his bent arm and his bent knee, and you couldn't do anything with him. That was like, I hated pre-posed toys. That was such a terrible idea. It didn't, like, I'd rather have a figure that barely does anything as opposed to one that has like a really epic pose that you can't even fit in a vehicle.
Mhm.
How cool were Skeleton Warriors, though?
Oh, undeniably unequaled cool.
Yeah.
So, and they'll be making a comeback in a conversation we're having in a stream later in IconiCon. But they're gonna come back, Exo Squad, a whole bunch of stuff. I pulled this photo up only because he's hard to make out, but that is one of the alien figures. I think his name's Ajax or something like that. He's in an alien queen disguise, which I don't remember at all from the movie. So maybe he came from the comic book. I don't know. But they even did video games, which is not the topic of the stream, but I wanted to at least address that. Yes, Atax, that was his name. Sorry. I at least wanted to address that it did happen, that they did video games. So there's some Resident Evil characters there for you. But
Had those as well, man. Taking me back.
oh yeah. But I think I lost a super chat here. I did. Wolfie762 says, one thing I feel like they added I'm sorry, let me start over. One thing I feel they needlessly added to figures vehicles besides a missile was some kind of grabbing arm. which I agree with that. That it was like there's always a grabbing arm or a net of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like those.
Yeah, I think 9 out of 10 Swamp Thing figures had a snare net.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Do you remember on some of these they would put the logo or the movie title on the side of the car? It's like, yeah, I got a Batmobile. It says, it's got the logo on it or this. I hated when they would deviate. I know it was, to make it look appealing to kids, but I was a kid, and if I was a kid complaining about it, I thought other kids probably didn't like it either. So,
well, Jurassic Park toys with JP on the side of the dinosaurs was frustrating.
It was on the people too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Well, on the people's okay, but on the dinosaurs, crazy.
So, if I'm not mistaken, the reason they did that was because you can't copyright a dinosaur. But they added the JP on there so that way they could like copyright that dinosaur.
That's not entirely true.
No? Okay.
So Universal has, I don't know if they did then, has since put a copyright on the design of the dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park movie. So I was working on an idea for a Comic-Con item, and we were going to do like a Marvel Pets in a dog food bag, and it was going to be Lockjaw, who I got out later on, but it was going to be Moon Boy, and we're going to put Devil Dinosaur in there, and we're like, oh, we'll just use the JP T-Rex and we'll paint him red and we'll put him in there. And like, oh no, you can't do that because Universal has the copyright on the design of their dinosaurs. They have specific looks, like the brows and the snout of the T-Rex that they have covered under their own copyright.
Well, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for that bit of history.
Sure. Could have been a cool item.
That's why we have Bobby.
It would have been definitely a cool item.
That's right.
At least I got 2 of them out. I got Moon Boy and Lockjaw out later on. Oh, and Howard the Duck I got out.
Oh, Howard
Nice.
the
That
Duck.
was you?
Yeah, that collector's vault box set, that was mine.
So, if you want another really sad memory of Sal, here you go. Speaking of Howard the Duck, that movie was my first on-screen boobies. Never forget it. Never forget it.
You can't go wrong though. If they were your first, mine was in Monty Python. I can't remember exactly which one. Might have been The Life of Brian. But if on-screen boobs were duck in nature, then you could do worse, mate.
Well, they haunt my dreams. So James Salzberg thinks here, says League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I like the toy. I didn't know they made toys of that movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen them. Were they based on the movie or were they based on the comic? Because I think the comic ones would be awesome.
Yeah. I have no idea. I'll have to look that up later. But oh yeah. So let's see here. Oh, look at my show notes here. Okay. So I'm curious, since Bobby's somewhat of a toy designer, as we know. We touched on it briefly earlier, but it's like what about at least from a licensing standpoint, like approaching a movie, who approaches whom typically for toy licensing? Is it like the studio approaches a company and says we want toys made of this, or is it kind of vice versa?
I don't know. That's kind of way out of my my pay grade when I was there. We just kind of worked on what they had. I mean, I'm trying to think more when I was at Jazzwares, because they were a smaller company. I think when you're a smaller company, you kind of, well, that's not true. They probably all the toy. I would say that 90% of it is the toy company going after the movie or studio. In the Disney case, it's like, well, Disney works so close with Hasbro that's like kind of like a no-brainer. Like, hey, we'll probably give them first dibs on doing their stuff. But I'm trying to think, like, yeah, Jazzwares, they went after things like the UFC license, because it's like UFC wasn't really, toys probably weren't on their radar, but I think Jazzwares was a company that's willing to take more risks, so they were looking to get smaller brands, smaller licenses, and that's why they become a much bigger company in a very short period of time, because they were willing to make $5 or $10 million off a line rather than Hasbro saying like, no, we're only going to invest in it if it's a $50 million line. So, you know, in that case, yeah, I think it's the toy companies going after these licenses. I'm sure there are definitely instances where, you know, a brand's like, hey, we should do toys. Oh, well, Hasbro, Mattel, or something like this. Like, oh, or we've dealt with them in the past. Let's go with them again, kind of thing. But I would say it's more rare.
So it's kind of like, if I'm assuming here, but I guess it's all of them trying to catch the next Star Wars kind of thing, probably in a lot of cases.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, you know, merchandising is and it's not just toys. Like people think like, oh well, it's toys. Like Lucasfilm, they make money off of the toys, but they probably make way more off of licensing as a whole, not counting toys. You know, you're talking like shirts at, you know, you go into Target, you got shirts, you got underwear for kids, like bed sheets, cups, like all that shit, man. That makes a ton of money because that's probably moving way more than toys.
Yeah.
Books, you know, kids' books, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, you know, it's like Spaceballs. Talk about merchandising. You know, merchandising. Like that's it. Like it's as a whole. It's not just toys. I know, like we're kind of in a vacuum. We think toys, but it's not, guys. The bigger there's so like the picture is so much bigger than toys. You know, and especially now, like. Collector product moves a lot, but it's not moving kid product numbers.
Right.
And, you know, and then kid product isn't moving like overall stuff, you know, because even like, I think kid product is down now, you know, because of more kids playing video games and social media. So it's like the physical toys isn't as hot anymore, but, you know, I'm sure they make a ton off video games. You know, so yeah. You know,
well, with Fortnite, you can license your characters onto that game.
That.
Anyone can be on there. That's got to be worth something.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, quickly, James Saltzberg says that Goji corrected him. He was thinking of Van Helsing.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that toy line either, though, but I'll check it out because I don't mind Van Helsing as a movie. That one gets a bit of hate.
I didn't know there was a toy line until Joe Fest. One of the vendors at Joe Fest had, I think it was Dracula or one of the vampires in it that toted a quote, like, I think they said it was a 18-inch or like 24-inch wingspan or something. And I was like, that's pretty impressive. It was a very large figure, which if I had room in my suitcase, it would have come home with me, but I did not. Scott Hughes says a criminally missed opportunity for a 90s movie tie-in was Tombstone.
Yes.
He says we now need a 6-inch line. Wyatt, Doc, Johnny, horses, etc. Bobby ? Which I would be down every day and twice on Sunday for a Doc holiday. Personally,
yeah. Bobby's your Huckleberry.
See, that's another thing I want to look into is how it works with trademark and copyright on historical characters. Now I know, you know, Dime Novel Legends does a really great 4-inch cowboy line, you know, and he's a good friend of mine. And he said, I'll never do a 6-inch line. Just like I said, Action Force will never be a 4-inch line. But, you know, I wonder how cowboys would do at a 6-inch line. And
I'd buy them.
See, I would buy them too. But I think we live in a time where I think we want our action figures to be able to live together. Now, granted, you can put Avengers with G.I. Joe Classified or Action Force because the Marvel movies are modern day and they're very grounded.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you start going into like period pieces, I think that's when it doesn't jive. Like I would love to do a whole line of pirates. Man, I love that.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I love that show Black Sails, and I love pirate history. So it's like, to be able to do a pirate line would be really cool. I know McFarlane did some pirates. I don't know how well they did. They were cool looking figures, but I don't know if they sold well. I don't know if that's something people would get behind.
You could test the waters and make a Action Force character with a cowboy hat.
So there are characters that I've already developed and designed that, you know, are more from the Texas area that are part of a faction that, you know, have the kind of that old West look with modern tactical gear.
Oh, that's cool.
So we'll see how that does, but it's like it would be very cool to do, you know, a Doc Holliday, but it's like I wonder if the answer is not doing a, you know, 1800s Doc Holliday. Is the answer doing a modern day Doc Holliday? Like I don't want to say I don't want to say steampunk. That's kind of the wrong thing, but something similar in that vein where you're doing a slightly different take on it, and
a modern interpretation of those
yeah,
characters.
you're putting these characters in a different setting. I wonder if that's something that would work. But then at the
Well, you
same
look at
time,
the
like,
series Justified, and you look at the series Deadwood, and you've got the character in between that is Timothy Olyphant, and he sells both those looks, the classic Western and the modern day cowboy. So I think there's definitely, if you're bringing out a line that is like that Texas style, the hat, that whole look, I'm down for that.
Sure.
You've at least got one buyer, if that goes, and I'm sure you'll get many more. But
Yeah.
That's right in my wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna start testing the waters with those kind of. I got a ton of ideas and stuff I want to do. It's just, you know, when you have your own company and you're kind of creating stuff from scratch, it's like it's all a gamble. You're like, is this gonna work? I hope this is gonna work. So it's like, you know, I haven't had any misses yet with Action Force, so I'm just like, am I due? Or you know, so I'm very careful about the decisions I make because, you know, look at how many toy lines have done shit, like lines that like didn't go anywhere, didn't sell. And it's like, well, at least they had other big lines to back it up, but they also had the infrastructure of being multi-million-dollar companies or billion-dollar companies so they can take those bigger risks. I'm not there yet to the point where I can take those bigger risks, but I did mention at Joe Fest about like the possibility of a large toy company licensing or buying the Action Force brand, allowing me to just focus on the creating more characters and story and designing the actual product rather than packing up everyone's orders, which I love doing. But then if I do that, making those financial deals will allow me to then say, all right, well then under Valaverse, let's start, you know, gambling a little bit and coming out with these different alternative lines and see where we can go with them.
Mm-hmm. So, Wolfie762, thank you, sir. He says, not a movie, but a public service tie-in. The crash test dummies was a hell of a line. Fully destructible, interchangeable, working airbags in the cars.
Yes.
Great line. Great
I
line.
had all of them.
My favorite crash test dummy I had was actually, it was like I don't know how big it was, probably 1.5 feet tall, but it was stuffed. And it had Velcro legs and Velcro arms and a Velcro head. And that thing was great. Because I had plastic swords and I'd like cut his head off and play time.
Really that's one way to play.
So, Gojatron says, honorable mention to Godzilla 98 movie, and the toys both sucking so much they helped put Trendmasters out of business.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
So there's one more movie that I want to bring up before we move on to something I wanted to touch on again, was Wild Wild West. And how awful that movie was and how bad the toy line was. That's all I had to say about that.
It's just the Will Smith curse of the 90s.
Yeah.
Did Will Smith have a good movie / toy line at all?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think Will Smith has ever had a good figure. Like even the Suicide Squad stuff sucked.
I mean, the Burger King toys from Men in Black were okay. That was like that's very telling. That I remember the Burger King toys being much better than the actual toys. But
I remember when Happy Meal toys used to actually be really good.
Right? Man.
Were they based off the cartoon from Burger King?
Possibly. The only thing I remember,
I watched the hell out of that show.
Yeah, that was a great show.
That was WB Kids, wasn't it?
Yep.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I remember the was it K&J? They came with an alien that you'd like put them inside of in the Happy Meal. But I did.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. But Jeff, you brought your Chip Hazard, and I wanted to talk about Small Soldiers.
Yeah.
So, because that toy line, it was so cool, Like they were like punching their way out of the packaging like they did in the
Yes.
cartoons and all that, and Major Chip Hazard, which was such a mind fuck because when you're a kid and you see the toys and the trailer before you see the movie, obviously, so you think all the army dudes are going to be the good guys and the Gorgonites are going to be the bad guys, and then they just
Right,
totally
yeah.
flip it.
It's a great idea.
So and then they put the chips in the Barbies, and the Barbies are like they get like knives and nails. They start attacking everybody, and
Wasn't
I
one of the
used to
toys
read-
that
Okay, sorry.
I was just gonna say, wasn't one of the toys not actually screen accurate though? I can't remember exactly which one.
I think it was one of the Gorgonites, or no, Nick Nitro. I think it was because Nick Nitro, he's the one that gets put in the garbage disposal.
Mhm.
But like,
Right.
I don't think any of his toys looked like that. No, but there was oh God, what was it? There was one Gorgonite, because they smash him to pieces and they kind of cobble him back together in the shop, and I think that might be the one that doesn't look
Oh.
correct.
Right,
I think they
right,
call him like
yeah.
Freakenstein or something.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's weird that we get a toy of that version, considering that version was created in the movie and wasn't shop bought like that. If that makes sense. Anyway, sorry, Jeff. What were you going to say before I interrupted you, mate?
Oh, no, not at all. The internet connection is garbage here, so that's why we're having a little lag. I was just going to say, I used to read, like, the story books, the activity books. Like, Small Soldiers was a property I, like, got into pretty heavily. And it was just fun. Like, Summer of 98 was all about that. I even had the PlayStation game, which was terrible. But the PC game was pretty fun. Like, it was a RTS point and click. And so, Small Soldiers was a bigger deal for me than it actually was culturally. And, like, I'm waiting for the day where some high-end collectible company makes Chip Hazard, screen accurate Chip Hazard, 1-to-1. Take the scanned files from the doll or whatever and make that, and I'll buy that. And that's, that's for me. But I wish they would have done more with Small Soldiers. I wish it would have been a successful enough film to get a sequel, because the merchandise made you feel like this was going to stick around forever, like it was going to be there year after year. Because they had multiple waves. They even changed their costumes and stuff. So I guess they were banking on it being a bigger hit, but it came and it went.
Some of them are
quick,
worth
man.
big bucks now, though, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, like Mayfex, who does like a lot of out there type stuff, hasn't like tested the waters with like two of them. I feel like they're the kind of company that I think would do that, and I feel like the Asia market would be prime for those figures. I think they'd eat it up. So it'd be interesting to see if like that's something they do.
Have they done reaction figures of them yet?
Don't say that too loud.
Sure.
I hope someone gets it, and the unfortunate thing is I have a feeling that Subpar 7 would be the ones that would do it. Just unfortunately, because that's something it's like in their wheelhouse of things to pick from. But I hold out hope that either the prices will come down on the vintage ones, or maybe someone that we know might get the license for it.
Haha.
But well,
So I know that we're getting close to time, but I want to touch on Hook, the movie and the toy line, because I loved the movie when it came out. I've struggled to watch it as I've gotten older, but the toys, I thoroughly enjoyed those. They were on the same level as the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves in our house. Unfortunately, my Peter Pan, I put him on top of a light globe and he melted to it, so I lost Peter Pan pretty quick.
Oh.
But Hook, I mean the one with the gimmick where the sword comes out of the forearm, I thought that was fantastic. I thought it was a great representation. Hook is a better representation of the character than Peter Pan was, to be fair. But just if you only had those two figures, you were set. And yeah, Hook lasted well into our collecting playtime. He maintained, same with Azim. They carried over into our later toy playing days too. But it's just such a great figure, so well done, in my opinion.
mm-hmm. Yeah, Drew G quickly says, "Bobby, just make everything."
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
I mean,
that's pretty much how we treat you. Like, dance.
One day. See, that's why I just need like a bigger company to like back me, because I'm like, look, I got all these ideas that they're probably not thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just throw a bunch of money at me so that I can, develop this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite figures from the Hook line was Rufio. Just very cool looking. He had like the bones for like chest armor and stuff. Just super cool.
Yeah, that figure is bangarang.
Bangarang. Also, it was either that or oh god, what was the name of that movie with Macaulay Culkin where he was like the evil
The
child
good son.
Yeah, the good son.
Yeah. It was either Hook or that movie was the first time I'd seen a child be killed in a movie, and that was a life-changing moment because it's kids and good guys never die when you're young.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh no. So
Rufio. Yeah,
Sal,
they had that one. Go on, buddy.
I was gonna say, Sal, that's how I rationalized my fear of certain things as a kid. I'm like, hey, they don't kill kids in these horror movies, so I'm safe. Like being 5 watching these movies, like, oh, they don't. Jason only kills teenagers. I'm 5. I'm cool. Like,
yeah, you got a few more years to worry. I can't remember the name of the character from Hook, but that kid that puts himself into like a ball and then rolls down, and they try to turn that into an action feature. That one, yeah, maybe that didn't translate too well as a toy. It didn't even look great as a stunt, but yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of the Hook figure itself. I'm not sure. I saw in the chat there was one with extended legs. I don't remember that, but I did have the one with the sword that came out, and that gimmick. It kind of reminded me at the time of the Wolverine that you could pull the claws down into his forearms.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a great action gimmick too.
Oh, yeah.
The interesting thing about the Hook line is they didn't get any actor likenesses for that line.
Mm.
No, they didn't.
Especially not Peter Pan there.
Yeah.
But Hook. I mean, you can get away with Hook because it's such a iconic character look that it looks close enough, and probably looks the best as far as what is that?
Yeah, I don't think that's Robin Williams at all. Here, you know what? If I have to look at this
people's
monstrosity,
eyebrow?
everybody has to look at this monstrosity.
Jeez.
Yikes!
Hey, Peter Pan's in public domain.
There you go.
Wow.
Peter Pan and Battleverse.
Wow.
And that is not Dustin Hoffman.
Nope, but he does look good.
It looks great.
Yep.
That's taking me back.
Yeah. Oh, Drew G says thud butt.
Thud? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oof.
You're doing it, Peter?
There you are, Peter.
Hey, they laugh at him, but he's the one that gets the sword to lead the Lost Boys when Peter leaves. So
True.
Yeah. Wonder how that worked out.
Look, all I'm gonna say is that the meal that they were eating had no business looking as good as it did when I was 5.
Oh, tell me about it.
It was like a table full of Superman ice cream. That's pretty much all it was.
It was slop, but it was
Let me tell you something. If I was one rogue pirate after Hook died, and I found out that Thudbutt got the sword, I'd be like, guys, we are invading. It is easy pickings. Let's go.
But he can turn into a ball. Just put him in a cannon. He'll be all right.
I guess.
To this day, I still don't understand. Like, I know the crocodile fell on Hook, but to this day, I don't understand what happened.
That's the magic of it, Sal.
Yeah, don't question it, mate. Go with it.
Just go with it.
Poochie died on the way to his own planet.
Phil Collins was in that movie. I'm a big Phil Collins fan. All of Genesis were actually in that movie.
I do believe Glenn Close also played a male pirate in a cameo.
Right. Very true.
Who? I'm trying to think. Phil Collins must have been a pirate, or like I can't get Shmee out of my head.
He was the detective when the kids go missing.
Yeah.
You see him and the rest of Genesis. That's if I can drop a Phil reference anywhere, I'm glad I was able to do it here.
My man.
Have you seen that episode of Miami Vice with him in it?
I did back in the day. I haven't gone back and revisited it. I also need to go back and revisit the Buster movie I do remember liking in Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. There's a whole mission around Phil Collins while he's trying to play In the Air Tonight. Let's go into a Phil Collins stream after this. Who's down?
That's right. I mean, I'm more of a Peter Gabriel guy myself, but we'll do it. Jason Anderson says, last comment for the evening says, scary thing is that someone somewhere owns that thud balled up dummy.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Like someone somewhere owns that. So that's pretty terrifying.
There's your land of confusion.
That's right. A really great song, actually. I was going to make a pun. I was going to say I was very disturbed. But I was actually kind of bothered when I heard that version. I was like, oh, what? But I like Genesis. So, but anyway, let's round robin. We'll do our outro plugs now, and we'll call it an evening. Zazel.
Okay. So,
folks at home, where they can find you.
Well, before you come and find me, make sure you go over to the Valorverse, the World Class Bullshitters, and obviously here, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that like button too, just so we can really appreciate the hard work that goes into all of this. It's been an absolute pleasure to hang out with you guys. And then once everyone's gone and subscribed and liked everyone else's channel, if you feel like I've earned a subscription, please pop on over to Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse and subscribe to my channel too. That'll be much appreciated. Thank you.
Alrighty. Bobby, you're up to bat.
Oh man. I guess you could find me everywhere on the WWE network. Valorverse everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Zazel, I do have to give you a shout out because, guys, he put together a great video on the resurgence of Sergeant Slaughter, which I watched today while I was packing up orders for Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, nice.
So that was cool. Great video.
I'm glad you liked it.
But, yeah. So you guys know where I'm at.
That is
Valorverse
Valorverse everywhere. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Hicks. If there are people here who haven't heard of you, where can they find you? And
so, folks,
what
you can
project
find me
do you
over on the World Class Bullshitters YouTube channel. You could Google us. You can find us that way. You can check out Wokebusters, which is what I'm working on right now. That's what I was getting back to right now. So I have stuff, all kinds of fingers and all kinds of pies. But make sure that you check out our Sergeant Slaughter Slaughterhouse Attitude Era stream this morning over on Zazel's channel. I'll tell you to subscribe to him right away because it was a fun time, and you want to be a part of that community. Yeah, support everybody here on the channel, folks. A lot of awesome content creators. Bobby's got an awesome toy company. Sal makes awesome toy content. It works perfectly. So, folks, check them all out. But yeah, that's really what I got going on. A lot of stuff. So just subscribe to World Class Bullshitters and find out more.
Alrighty. Well said all around. I am Sal. Thank you to my panel for being here, especially on a Friday night. It's kind of late. And I do
Saturday morning
for Zazel in the future. I do appreciate all of you being here and taking your time. Thank you to everyone in the chat who came out to support us. Be sure to check in tomorrow morning for the next round of IconiCon. This is kind of the tail end of the day for us. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.
I'm dismissed.